This film is designed to complement the operating manual for the SF6 circuit breakers GL311 and GL312. It describes the basic reconditioning and recommissioning procedures. Please consult the operating manual supplied with the equipment for safety instructions, measured values, tightening torques and other detailed information. In particular, please note that improper handling of the porcelains can result in personal injury or property damage. Appropriate protective clothing must be worn when working near open gas compartments or handling contaminated parts. In the interest of continued breaker development, revisions may be made in the operating manual that will result in discrepancies between the manual and this film. The following items are required for reconditioning purposes: operating manual, schematic diagram and routine testing certificate. A checklist can be found in the operating manual and must be filled out during the entire repair process. This ensures that all the important procedures that guarantee breaker operating safety and reliability will be carried out and documented. The materials, tools, hoisting gear and other supplies that need to be provided by the station are listed in detail in the operating manual. Before any repair work is carried out, isolate the breaker at the station end, ground it and disconnect it from the high voltage network. Turn off the supply voltage and the control voltage. Then discharge the closing spring by carrying out a closing and opening operation manually. Evacuate the SF6 gas through an additional filter using a gas handling device such as a gas cart. Remove the covers of the installation openings in the base frame. Detach the SF6 piping system from all 3 pole columns and vent the pole columns until the pressure has been equalized. Detach and remove the connecting rod from the pole column lever. Loosen the bolt on the lever and remove the lever from the torque shaft. Attach the pole column to a hoisting rope and remove the bolts on the pole column flange. Rotate the pole column approximately 30 degrees from its installation position and lift it out of the base frame. Inspect the new pole columns visually and check the SF6 shipping pressure by pressing the valve mushroom of the coupling. Gas escape must be audible. Attach rope loops to the upper connection surfaces of the new pole column. Slowly pull the pole column to an upright position, making sure that the crankcase rolls down over the cast seam. This prevents damage to the gas supply connection and torque shaft. Lift the new pole column above the installation opening in the base frame, rotate it approximately 30 degrees from the mounting position and lower it carefully until the torque shaft is completely inside the base frame. Rotate the pole column back to the mounting position, lower it almost completely and secure it with bolts. Do not tighten the bolts yet, since the pole column still needs to be aligned. Mount the lever so that the coupling pin can be easily inserted. Fasten the lever using a bolt, liquid locking and washer. Insert the greased coupling pin and fasten it using a bolt, liquid locking and washer. Lower pole column completely. Tighten the bolts using a torque wrench and remove the rope loops from the connecting flange. Remove the right side cover from the mechanism. Install the blocking and low-speed operating device and move the circuit breaker to the closed position. Attach rope loops to the upper connection surfaces of the interrupter chamber. Loosen the bolts on the flange between the interrupter chamber and the support porcelain. And lift the interrupter chamber 80 millimeters. Attach a coupling fixture and remove the coupling pin using a tool. Lift off the interrupter chamber and cover the open flange on the support porcelain so that it is dust tight. Wrap the interrupter chamber flange in a dust-tight packaging and set it down on a suitable surface. Clean the sealing surface of the support porcelain using a rag and cleaning fluid. Clean the inside of the support porcelain using a vacuum cleaner and cover it again in a dust-tight manner. Bring new or conditioned interrupter chamber in open position and attach the coupling fixture. Grease the sealing surface on the support porcelain and install a new gasket. Lift interrupter chamber above the support porcelain. Insert the coupling pin and remove the coupling fixture again. Lower the interrupter chamber slowly, insert the bolts and tighten using a torque wrench. Using the low-speed operating device, move the circuit breaker to the open position. Remove both fixtures again and assemble the right side cover. Then remove connecting rod and lever. Loosen the filter cover on the crankcase. Remove the filter and basket and vacuum it. Vacuum the inside of the crankcase thoroughly. Reinsert the basket and a new filter, close the crankcase with cover and reassemble connecting rod and lever. Then evacuate the pole column. Place the chamber on a mounting device and secure it. Loosen the screws on the upper flange. Pull out the double motion unit and wrap it in dust-tight packaging. Loosen the screws on the lower flange, lift off the chamber porcelain and place it on a suitable surface. Wrap the contact carrier in a dust-tight packaging and remove it from the fixture. Place a new contact carrier on the mounting fixture and secure it. Grease the sealing surfaces of the contact carrier, as well as the cleaned chamber porcelain, and position new gaskets on both flanges. Place the chamber porcelain on the contact carrier and tighten the bolts using a torque wrench. Push the centering device on the new double motion unit. Lower it into the chamber porcelain. Insert the screws in the upper flange and tighten them using a torque wrench. Pull off the centering device and move the double motion unit to the open position using a hook. Fix the linkage in position using the mounting device, adjust it as specified in the operating instructions and lock it. Release the interrupter chamber from the mounting device, lift it off and set it down on a suitable surface. Finally, Close the interrupter chamber with cover and gasket. Evacuate the interrupter chamber for storage purposes and fill it with nitrogen or new SF6 gas to a pressure slightly above atmospheric. The recommissioning procedure for the circuit breaker GL311 or GL312 begins with the testing of the density monitor. Connect the gas filling device to the central supply connection and fill the piping system and density monitor with SF6 gas up to the rated pressure given on the nameplate. Since the ends of the piping system are equipped with check valves, uncontrolled leaks of SF6 are prevented. Reduce the gas pressure gradually by pressing one of the poppet valves until the various SF6 warning levels are reached. Also check the density monitor contacts for continuity. Then measure the resistance of the anti-condensation heater at the terminals in the mechanism and check it against the routine test certificate. Before filling the breaker with gas, connect the SF6 piping system to all 3 pole columns and tighten using a torque wrench. Fill up the breaker to the rated pressure marking in the green scale range of the density monitor. Check all sealing points for leak tightness using an SF6 leak detector. After a temperature equalization period of approximately 1 hour, check the SF6 pressure again and correct it if necessary. Now the supply voltage can be applied. When the motor protection switch is turned on, the motor begins to charge the closing spring. As soon as the spring is charged, the motor circuit will automatically be interrupted by the motor limit switch. The position display for the closing spring indicates that the spring is charged. Following the safety instructions in the operating manual, carry out 5 test operations, each in closed and open position by remote control. Then measure the motor running time after a closing operation. Measure the breaker operating times for 1 closing operation and 1 opening operation and plot the movement curves. Check the results against the routine test certificate and enter them in the checklist. Run a function test of manual control by carrying out 1 manually triggered closing operation and 1 manually triggered opening operation. To check the anti-pumping system, first move the breaker to the open position. With a continuous open command and an additional closing command, the breaker should carry out only 1 closing and 1 opening operation. Then move the breaker to the closed position. With a continuous closing command and an additional opening command, the breaker should carry out only 1 opening operation. Return the breaker to the closed position and measure the contact resistance on all 3 pole columns. Check the measured values against the routine test certificate and enter them in the checklist. To check the SF6 functional lockout, jumper the density monitor contacts one after the other at the terminal strip. The breaker should not execute any further operating commands. On completion of recommissioning, remove all testing and measuring equipment from the breaker and close and lock the installation openings in the base frame. Note the number of operations on the counter in the mechanism and record that number in the checklist. The circuit breaker GL311 or GL312 is now ready to be connected to the high voltage system.